If your business feels heavier than it should right now, even when you're doing everything right, then you're going to want to hear what I have to say right now. Because I don't think most women running businesses are overwhelmed because they're doing the wrong things. I think they're overwhelmed because they're holding too much alone. And there's a really important distinction here. Because when you believe you're overwhelmed because you're disorganized or not disciplined or not focused enough, the solution almost always becomes try harder. But when you're overwhelmed because you're holding too much operational weight, then the solution becomes find support. And that's where this conversation around automations and systems becomes really interesting, because I think we've slightly misunderstood what automation is actually for. Most people assume automation is about removing the work in general, but I don't think that's true. I think automation is about removing pressure, and those two things are very different, because there are parts of your business that should always stay human. The parts where you connect with your clients, the parts where you build trust, the parts where you understand the nuance, the parts where you listen. Those things, they shouldn't disappear. They are the heartbeat of your business. But surrounding those moments is a huge amount of invisible operational work. Finding people to speak to, keeping track of the conversations you're having, following up, remembering who said what, managing content, planning visibility, filtering opportunities, making decisions. It's the dozens of small things constantly. And each one on its own doesn't feel that big, but together they create weight. And that's the part I think most women are trying to carry alone, which is why even successful businesses can feel exhausting to run, because you're not just doing the visible work, you're carrying the operational thinking layer as well. And that's where systems are designed to support you, not replace you, but to remove that background pressure. And this is something I've been thinking about so much recently, especially after launching my Conversations into Clients guides, because that entire approach is built on something very simple. Conversations should always stay human. Now, over the last few years, that method alone has generated over £150,000 in sales, purely from calm, thoughtful, human-led conversations with cold audiences. No funnels pushing people, no automation doing the talking, just conversations. And I think that's important because it shows that human connection is still the most powerful thing in your business. And here's the interesting part. Even though the conversations stay human, almost everything around them can be automated and supported, because the pressure isn't usually the conversation itself. It's finding the right people to talk to, knowing where to look, second guessing whether they're a good fit for you and your business. It's wondering whether you're doing enough, trying to stay consistent. That's the heavy part. And that's where automation can support you and remove the weight. So instead of trying to automate your conversations, you automate everything that makes the conversation harder, which means when you show up for your clients, you're calm, you're present, you're not rushing, you're not forcing anything. You're just there to have a conversation. And that shifts how your business feels, because suddenly you're not constantly switching roles. You're not the strategist, the marketer, the operator, the admin, the decision maker all at once. You're just a person who's building relationships. And that's where businesses start to feel lighter. And I think this is particularly important in women-led businesses, because so much of the value we create comes from understanding people, from noticing what somebody really means, responding naturally, creating safety. Those things don't work when everything gets automated. They work when you have the space to be human, which is really the entire philosophy behind the calm systems. They don't remove you, they protect you. They remove the operational noise so you can show up properly where it matters. And when you build your business this way, something subtle changes because you stop feeling like you're constantly behind and you stop feeling, like you're chasing. You stop feeling like you're holding everything together because that operational layer is quietly supported. And the visible layer, the human part, well, that becomes easier. So if your business currently feels heavy, I'd invite you to look at this slightly differently. And instead of asking, what should I automate? Maybe ask, what should stay human? Because that's the part of you that we want to protect. Then everything around it can be supported. And when you do that, your business doesn't just become more efficient, it becomes calmer, easier to run. And most importantly, it starts to feel sustainable, which really is the goal for us. Not to build a business that runs faster, but to build one that feels lighter and more enjoyable.